Imagine you just came home from a long day of work or school and you can't wait to eat. You order yourself some pizza and wait for the delivery guy. When he arrives, the smell of pizza is mesmerizing. So you throw in the money and run to your kitchen to engorge yourself. Right before your first bite, you realize that you need to check your sugar and administer insulin for the amount of carbohydrates that you're about to eat. The needle won't go through your skin because your hand has calluses from the amount of finger pricks that your fingertip endures. After a few more tries, you finally draw blood. Oh, but your glucometer reads error when it analyzes your blood sugar, so you have to start the process all over again. Your pizza is now cold. Eventually, you get your blood sugar number and you get to eat your cold pizza. Finally, it's time to go to bed, so you check your sugar and fall asleep quickly. However, at 3 a.m, you wake up to an alarm blaring in your ear telling you that you need to change your insulin delivery system, or Omnipod. So, without waking everyone in your house up, you run downstairs, grab an Omnipod, and change it while you were half asleep. Then, at about 3:30, you finally get that good night's sleep that you deserve. This is just a typical day in the life of a type 1 diabetic. So, what is type 1 diabetes? Type 1 diabetes is a disorder where your immune system attacks the cells in your body that produce insulin. Type 1 diabetes cannot be prevented and has nothing to do with obesity or eating too much sugar. There is no cure to type 1 diabetes. It is genetic, where you must administer insulin in the form of injection and finger pricks daily to survive. On July 8th, 2016, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I was only 11 years old and didn't fully understand what was happening to me, so it quickly became a normal part of my routine. Because I monitor my blood sugars very closely, I've been able to avoid any hospitalizations resulting from uncontrolled diabetes. But the risk still stands. I developed symptoms of type 1 diabetes a few days prior to my official diagnosis. I ran a local 5K, and after finishing it, I felt incredibly sick. I was having trouble walking, and I was shaking. I just thought that I was out of shape, and I was a bad runner. Then I went on vacation with my aunt and cousins. While I was there, I was drinking a lot of water, and I was having problems controlling my bladder. My aunt, who had gestational diabetes, suspected that I had it and called my dad. The next thing I knew, I was in the hospital, learning how to inject myself with insulin for every meal. One day, I was at the nurse's office, and one of my fellow classmates asked me if I had type 1 diabetes because I had too much sugar when I was a kid. This type of thinking isn't uncommon, because type 2 diabetes is usually associated with obesity. However, this isn't always true. Other people ask me, "But you're not fat." Thank you so much. But type 1 diabetes has nothing to do with a lack of diet and exercise or obesity. Other people ask, "Wait, is type 1 or type 2 the bad one?" I don't know how to respond to that because both diseases are very difficult to manage, with similar risks if not treated correctly. Managing type 1 diabetes is challenging and most definitely not glamorous. It requires me to monitor my blood sugar constantly. I remember when I was first diagnosed, I didn't want to eat something as healthy as an apple because I didn't want to inject my bruised stomach again. Some days, I just wanted to give up. Could I have one day off? Why couldn't I be like every other kid and eat whatever I wanted whenever I wanted? But then I remember the effects it would have on me if I didn't maintain my sugars. The feeling of a sugar high is worse than a needle. I didn't want to feel dehydrated no matter how much water I would drink. I didn't want to have blurry vision or to feel shaky. So I would have to continue injecting myself to eat. However, insulin isn't perfect. If I overcorrected, the effects would be even worse. I would have excruciating migraines. I would feel anxious and my hands would sweat. It's even worse at night because all you want to do is sleep. But you have to chug down that juice box to bring your sugar up because it is more important than sleep. Type 1 diabetes is more important than school, than sports. When you have this disease, nothing takes priority over it. High school is tough, but it's even more difficult to be a high school student with type 1 diabetes. It's hard enough to fit in with the cool kids at school, and the fact that I have to worry about my sugars all the time makes situations worse. It's embarrassing when I have to leave in the middle of class to change my pod. It's humiliating when it would start to alarm in the middle of the class because it's running low on insulin. Some days I just wanted to disappear. Others, I would wear my Omnipod with pride. Because it is kind of funny to see kids' reactions when my pod would start alarming and they wouldn't know it was me. Some kids would check their phones to see if they forgot to silence it before class. I remember my global history teacher that thought that her fridge alarm was going off and yelled at the kid in the back to stop trying to steal her soda. Jokes aside, I am self-conscious about how visible my Omnipod is during school. However, I have proven that this disease is a part of me that I should not hide. Whenever I see someone with the Omnipod, it makes my day. They understand what I'm going through because they're undergoing the same thing. And I hope I'm doing them proud tonight. I have proven that type 1 diabetes has not stopped me from doing the things that I love. It just helps me to appreciate and understand how important it is to be healthy. Thank you.